before that, I just want to ask one thing. You're right about the conviction that you had. I mean, we all followed it, no doubt about it.
Which conviction?
Your conviction of your editorial sort of stance
Yeah.
and everything, no doubt about it. Everyone did. But kabhi, sir, ऐसे लगता है कि, maybe on a certain story we go overboard. Sometimes, did any story give you a doubt that, maybe I've said a little too much and I need to start backtracking, or probably bring it back on track, that you've sort of veered away from a story? I'll give you a small example. And what I'm talking about specifically, this Aryan Khan story that happened, all channels sort of had one similar line initially as they went on. And as the aspects of the story started tumbling out, then we realized that, listen, there's more to the story than what has been, put on record or what's come out in the investigations. And then sort of people sort of figured out and toned their sort of coverage more aligned to what the truth of the matter was. So in just that, using that example, do you think that sometimes in a particular story you've gone overboard?
Everybody has different views on the truth. I have not been part of the herd. So who knows what the truth is in any case. So I would go by my conviction, and I'm not forcing anyone to follow what I believe in. I won't go into details of that case.
Sure.
But I don't sit on the fence, Ishan, in anything. And I think A, it's not in my nature. B, it should not be in Indian journalism. Obviously with facts at hand. Now, as far as backtracking, which you said earlier, I've truly not backtracked on anything. I have not backtracked on any story I do. And I have found sometimes that in the moment if you backtrack, you may regret it later. Sometimes the truth takes time, Ishan. I give you 2 examples. I just told you about Devas ISRO.
Yes.
Now, it has taken all these years for a court verdict to come, 12 years. Palghar.
Yes.
Okay. At that time, it was seen to be done and dusted in 2 months.
Right.
And the entire media went with whatever the Maharashtra government said. Why didn't they raise questions? I didn't backtrack on Palghar. I didn't backtrack on Devas ISRO. I wouldn't even backtrack on 2G. And these are stories I have done. And sometimes it's a question of emphasis. There are 2 ways of doing a story. You want to do a story to give yourself enough leeway for an escape route later. Example being Adarsh.
Yes, housing scam.
If a journalist wants to kill a story, he can kill a story. You can call it a housing scam. And that's a sure way to kill a story.
You name it.
No, because if you call it an environmental issue, housing scam and coverage in page 3, part of the environment page, you're killing the story. I was the only person who called it Kargil for profit. I didn't break the story. I rebranded the story deliberately. And a lot of journalists were upset with me. He's trying to take ownership for a story we broke. And I tell them, what impact did your coverage have for 6 months? Because you were covering it without conviction, without passion. You were making it a story of a building that has broken environmental rules. We made it a story of politicians using deceit and falsehood.
Yeah.
And shooting off the shoulders of supposed allocations which were meant for families of Kargil.
War widows not getting their dues, yeah.
And taking that money and that property in Benami assets for yourself.
Totally.
So we actually went to the nub of the matter. Yeah. And you can ask the then Chief Minister, if you ever interview him, you ask the then Chief Minister of Maharashtra whether he called me. And I told him, I'm not backtracking. You think, Ishan, and your people know this who are watching this, you think over the last 15 years of my life, hundreds, thousands of politicians have called me to backtrack. Now they've stopped calling because they're convinced that I'm a madman. Now the point here is...
You want to share one conversation?
I will, many on and off record. I said I'll write a book one day. But the point is, all you have to tell the politician is, sir, my Obi-Wan is outside, I'll pull the camera. You speak.
Speak on camera.
Speak on
Baat
camera.
karo.
Speak on camera. But even the politician, by the way, he lost his job 2 days later. Right? We have broken stories that have upset people.
Yeah.
And we are not in the business of making people happy. When I first did IPL, so many people lost their job. Did I do it to make people lose their job? No, that was the accidental part. There is no thought in it. I went with my conviction. There was something hanky-panky with the Kochi IPL, I thought then. It cost people their job, it cost people their franchise. We're not in a popularity race. But since you use the word backtrack, I'll tell you confidently, from then to now, I have never backtracked. I've gone to jail and back, but I have not backtracked. Sometime I am sure that in the fullness of time, the truth will come out.